Well, I watched the first Den of Thieves all for nothing because I was sure, I was positive, almost 100% positive, that the Regal Mystery Movie Monday tonight was going to be Den of Thieves 2, but it wasn't. However, that's okay because no one learned from your mistakes. We let our profits go to waste. All that's left in any case is advertising space song. Okay, sorry about that, y'all. I could not help myself. I listened to this song on loop on the way home from the movie theater because the movie tonight was A Better Man. Excuse me. The movie tonight was A Better Man, and it is basically a biography about Robbie Williams. I will admit that I don't know a ton about Robbie Williams, but I do know who he is. And the reason I know who Robbie Williams is because of that clip I showed you at the very beginning, Advertising Space. They played that music video on loop on a Spanish language music video channel my husband used to watch a long, long time ago. And they played it, oh my goodness, I think every night for I don't know how long. And I had no idea what it was and started to pay attention. And I was just wondering, like, why are they playing this English language song on this Spanish language music video channel? Anyway, whatever. Looked it up, found out who the singer was, found out what the song was about. I've loved this song ever since then. I've known who Robbie Williams is ever since then. I feel like a lot of people in the audience here in the US will have no freaking idea who this is about and why he is presented as a monkey here. I admit I was confused about that as well. The reasoning behind it becomes a little clear as you watch it. I thought I understood why it was showing him like this, but I didn't completely get it nail on the head accurate. Sort of, kind of, it's a little complicated. I did not realize, well, I knew that Robbie Williams, he had a tumultuous time in the spotlight. Fortunately, a lot of the struggles that he had seemed to have smoothed over a bit. While I didn't know a ton about Robbie Williams before watching this movie, I did know a little bit, so not everything I saw in here was a complete surprise to me, but most of it I had no clue about because I'm not so deep into the Robbie Williams fandom that I know every single thing about him. I just know of some of his songs. I knew the boy band that he was in when he was younger. And so it was interesting to see this story told. At first, when it was revealed that this was going to be the movie, I was very disappointed. Not because I thought I was going to hate it. Okay, I'll get that right out of the way. I really wanted to see Den of Thieves 2. So now I'm going to have to go get a ticket and watch it in a couple days. But I was disappointed because while I do plan to watch it, I wasn't thinking about seeing it on the big screen. But anyway, here we are. It's on the big screen. It was fine because in a lot of ways, this was almost like a musical. I didn't mind the musical numbers, though I did feel like sometimes they were a bit too long. Sorry, my phone. If I had any complaint about this movie, it would be that. And the complaint would not be that he was presented as a monkey in this movie. In an odd sort of way, I got used to it. And the thought of someone playing him, especially younger Robbie, because, you know, he was big, I don't know, what was it, 80s, early 90s, whatever, when he was in the boy band. And then he went off on his solo career. And this tells the journey of all of that, starting from when he was a child until, I guess, up until sort of present-ish day. I'm not exactly sure the year that the final scene takes place in, but I don't know that they could have captured him as well as they did if they had had an actor playing him. And it's so weird because the chimp, the monkey persona, his little face was so expressive. There were some times where it looked like it was CGI'd when he was just doing things like going through a record album. And then there were other times where, you know, it seemed obvious to me that it was an actual human playing the part. I do not know if Robbie Williams himself was underneath all that. I think that he did the voice. I believe that I saw his name in the cast, so I'm I'm pretty much almost 100% positive that he did the voice. If I am mistaken, I will correct it when I'm doing the video editing. But it was an interesting creative choice to do it this way. This might be a turnoff to some people, but I implore you, if you are a fan of biopics of musicians, artists, singers, whatever, or if you are a fan of Robbie Williams, I think it's worth checking out, you guys. This movie pulled on so many heartstrings. I did not anticipate that, and I was biting my finger to keep myself from crying during some scenes. I kid you not. There were moments that were really rough to watch, and something I appreciated about the telling of this story, which gives me a bit more appreciation about him as a person, was that he did not shy back from showing the ugly reality of his life during the worst times of his life. You feel, or I felt, very sorry for him during a lot of moments, especially in his childhood, and his relationship with his father was a bit fractured, and you find out why. There was a very close relationship he had with someone dear to him. It was his grandmother, and that relationship was so touching and so sweet. It was almost like an anchor to him in some ways because of how deeply he loved his grandmother, even though in a lot of ways he lost himself during very bad times in his life. And he shows the different relationships that he had with the people that were involved with his music career and his time during the boy band period. I think the name of the band was Take That. I knew that, but like when they revealed the name of the band, I was like, oh yeah, I remember knowing that when I had looked him up. He was very young when he got started off in this, too young. And the situations that he was put in as a teen, he was like a mid-teen, 15, 16 when he started off in this boy band thing, and that could not have been healthy. I mean, he was all about it. He was having a lot of fun. Unfortunately, he started to develop substance abuse problems at a very young age. This happens a lot with people just in general in the entertainment industry, and especially when they get started off too young. It's like they just don't have that maturity that they need to deal with the pressures of fame. And even adults have trouble dealing with it. So you can imagine the issues that a child would have, especially when you consider the home life situation. Not that his home life was horrendous or that there was abuse and stuff like that, but there were definitely things that helps contribute to his lack of stability, emotional stability when it comes to certain things. It was eye-opening, it was interesting, it was touching, it was heartfelt, it was very well acted. I figured I would probably enjoy it somewhat. I did not expect what a sucker punch it was going to be to the heart, you guys. I was very moved, and I went through these different phases as I was watching it, interested, and it's kind of comedic in some parts, and then it starts to get darker as he sinks further and further into his addiction problems, his emotional issues, and how he takes his pain out on the people around him. And then a very sad and sobering thing that happened with one of his girlfriends, and that was an issue between them as their relationship progressed. And then it got pretty dark, and you're dealing with stuff. I don't want to get too specific because I would like you guys to just go into this and kind of like clean slate. I mean, it's not totally a clean slate because I'm telling you a bit of stuff, but I think the part when this movie transitioned from, this is good, I like it, it's interesting, and I like the creative touches that they are using in order to tell this story. And there was a moment that happened in the film, sorry, my phone again. There was a moment that happened in the film where he suffers a loss of someone who means a lot to him, and the spiral that his life continues down because of that. I think that was the turning point for me. That was the point where I started to go from, this is really an interesting story, And I like how it's done to, wow, this might be a story that ends up in my top 10 for the year, for 2025. Now, this movie was already making its way out into the public back in 2024 because I was receiving, I think, invitations to see advanced screeners or either potential digital screeners. I can't remember. I have received so many screeners, I'm losing track. But I didn't watch it because I wasn't interested to watch it at the time. Was planning to watch it later. So this technically might be a 2024 movie, but because it's not being released here until 2025, I'm going to pull an origin on this, and I am going to count this as a 2025 movie. And I'm pleasantly surprised that this year is getting started off on a film that is on up there for me. I understand fully that it might not be for everybody, like I said, especially for people who have no idea who he is, but maybe it helps to know who he is before you go into it. Anyway, I've gone on a bit longer than I meant to about this, but I was so touched by this film and wanted to share my appreciation for it with you guys. I'm going to be doing a live stream discussion tomorrow with deleted scene and off the cover as of the filming of this. This is Monday night. This review is not going to go up until after that live stream discussion because I don't want to let anybody know yet what I feel about it. Something I forgot to mention was that after the credits start, there are a few photos that show Robbie Williams, the actual man, not the monkey image. And it shows different parts of his life and scenes that are portrayed in the film. So that might help give you further appreciation for this film, despite the unusual presentation of the main character. So yeah, just wanted to mention that before I forgot. Okay, back to the video. Well, not counting the first note, which is where I wrote the title, A Better Man, there were two notes I took. There is a scene where he is talking with a group of people and they're kind of bearing their souls to each other. And he makes a comment that I appreciated, so I wrote it down. He said, "Fame looks good in a photo." And you know, a lot of times, those of us who just are normal people, we're not in the spotlight, we're not famous, whatever. We often lose sight of the reality that people in the spotlight, though there are some that are just, you know, those types, but we often forget, just like we forget, and I'm circling back around to Sing Sing, the comments that I made in my Sing Sing review and my top 10 video, we forget that these are people and we often don't understand, we can't comprehend that they have struggles too, just like everybody else. We think that they have all this fame, they have all this money. Why are they whining? What's wrong with them? I'm guilty of this as well, especially when they're kind of assholey people. But we do often forget that they have struggles that we don't always understand. We can't identify with that because we don't understand the pressures, and there are pressures that come with extreme fame or, you know, fame to some extent. And so something else I appreciated about this film was that it helped to remind me that, you know, these are human beings. They're suffering, they're struggling, just like a lot of other people. Yes, they have money that makes some of the basics of life easier to handle, but that doesn't bring them always the happiness that a lot of times people expect that it would. And sometimes it makes their life freaking miserable, even worse than someone who doesn't have the stuff that they have. I would not want to be that type of person. I would not want to be in that position. So I liked that this movie really demonstrated that clearly. There was another thing that I wrote down, and it was another person that said, sometimes it's a curse to get everything we want. And that's true. I don't know how you can argue with that. I don't think getting everything you want in life is necessarily the best thing for our emotional growth and development. Sometimes we need to have things to aspire to that aren't handed easily to us, and it helps to build character. So yeah, those are my kind of rambling thoughts on A Better Man. I don't have much more to say about it, so I'm going to wrap this up and hope you guys enjoy it if you watch it. Okay, that's it for this one. Later, guys.